Hi, it's Justin Ross from Orchland Products again. I'm here today with Johansson. We are here at the Work Truck Show, walking the show floor. Joe, maybe you could share some of your observations from walking the show today.
It's interesting. There's such a buzz around the whole issue of decarbonization here. Every OEM has vehicles, either battery electric vehicles or fuel cell electric vehicles. There's a palpable sense of things that are happening.
So let's take a look at session 2, and perhaps we can dive a little deeper into the challenges brought about by this buzz.
Decarbonization, session 2, the buzz. What's all the buzz about? It's about the conversion of energy into electric power. The battery electric vehicle is being developed by all of these companies that you see here. And here the energy, of course, is contained within a battery, a rechargeable battery. And then the electric power powers the axles or a motor in the driveline. Another version of this, of course, is the hydrogen fuel cell electric vehicle, where the energy storage is really the hydrogen gas, which is then converted in the fuel cell to make electricity, and which used in electrified axles or in the motor in the driveline. Another system which is currently under development is just using hydrogen gas directly in an internal combustion engine. Cummins has been working on this and is agnostic engine system, which we'll talk about in another video. This uses essentially a somewhat standard truck with a gearbox and axles, and just using the hydrogen as the fuel in the internal combustion engine. Recently, Tesla launched the Tesla semi-truck. They have been working on this for a long time. First launch customers is PepsiCo and Frito-Lay, and this was presented at a launch event back in November of last year. As you will see here, some of the values here are just absolutely startling. A 500-mile range, efficiency of 1.7 kilowatt per hour per mile, and a charge time of 30 minutes to 70% using charge power of 1 megawatt. Compared to other vehicles, this is quite a remarkable feat. The question is, can this be usable in the field? In this presentation that was made at the launch event, a video was shown of a Tesla semi passing a standard diesel-powered truck up the 5-6% Donner Pass. The diesel truck was probably doing about 35 miles an hour, and a Tesla shot past it at probably twice that speed. Now, it has raised quite a lot of questions. What really was the weight of the Tesla? Was it really grossed at 82,000 pounds? And those questions remain unanswered. And here is the truck with its central driving position, and radically different to any other truck that we have seen to date. It has 3 motors, 2 on the front axle and 1 on the rear. The one on the rear is the cruise motor, which is always in power, and those on the front are only used during acceleration or heavy load requirement. The interesting thing is that these motors apparently are the same motors used in the Tesla Model S passenger car. It has a drag coefficient of 0.36, compared to a standard semi, probably of between 0.6 and 0.7. It has a range, as we said, of 300 to 500 miles, speed up of 5% grade of 65 miles an hour. These are values which are very optimistic, and we will see whether they can actually be maintained in practice in the field. Some people will say that this is about to change everything, and an article appeared where it says if we're looking at replacing an older truck that's getting 5 miles to the gallon in the 125,000 mile scenario, the Tesla semi would save you a whopping $90,000 in a single year. What are the challenges of a battery electric vehicle? Firstly, insufficient range. The Tesla, can it maintain 500 miles in a single charge? We don't know in practice. At the charging infrastructure, national grid, those are 2 open questions. If multiple Tesla semis land at a truck stop, and each one is charging at 1 megawatt, can the national grid handle that? Insufficient renewable electricity. The electricity available today is not all green, and therefore we will have to provide green electricity to make it really meet its target for a very usable truck. Battery weight is heavy. The high cost of adoption, batteries are expensive. Security at charge stations, whenever the vehicle is hooked into a charge station, there is an exchange of electronic data, which is possibly very hackable. It requires a new maintenance paradigm because the countrywide truck repair shops are not set up today to do electrical maintenance work. No service network as well. What about hydrogen? How is it produced? Today it's produced primarily through a thermal process in which steam reacts with hydrocarbon fuel to produce hydrogen. The problem here is if that hydrogen fuel is not green, and we haven't achieved the target of true green fuel. It can be produced by electrolytic processes, but again, the electricity will have to be green to make this viable. Solar-driven process, yes. If we have enough solar to provide the electrolysis required, then we have achieved the goal. Biological processes today really seem a little bit far-fetched. Well, a fuel cell, it combines hydrogen and air in the presence of a catalyst. And it's really an energy converter as opposed to an energy storage device. A battery is a storage device. Fuel cell is an energy converter. Who are the developers of fuel cell technology? Well, there's Bosch, who have allied themselves with Nikola to produce the Nikola electric trucks and then the fuel cell trucks. We have Cummins, Meritor, Siemens working here with Freightliner and Scania, but probably able to supply their systems to anybody who comes along. Hyundai have been very aggressive in entering Europe with their fuel cell trucks and have sold them in markets in Switzerland and France and the Netherlands. Hyzon is an agnostic developer of fuel cells, here shown in a Freightliner. Toyota has of course been working on fuel cells for a long time and have launched the fuel cell powered Toyota Mirai in California, their fuel cell car. And by using the same fuel cell in trucks, they have been working with PACCAR for a long time to promote fuel cells in their trucks. Quantron is a new entrant into the market I just heard about the other day. And they say that they have signed a proposal here with a logistics company to deliver 500 heavy-duty fuel cell trucks by 2024. It sounds very aggressive to me. We'll see how it works out. What are the challenges? Well, there is a lack of a hydrogen infrastructure today. Nikola is working to try to solve that, but it is really an issue. Insufficient green hydrogen. The hydrogen produced today is certainly not green because it's developed from hydrocarbon fuels. A fuel cell is quite a complex unit, and to be able to work on that requires special skill. High cost of adoption. It requires a new maintenance paradigm, and startups have no service network. And this is a real issue that every developer of fuel cells is going to have to try to overcome. We have very poor startup sales, which makes for very poor cash flow. And some of these developers of fuel cell trucks are really struggling in this area because it is a very costly process to develop this. So here are the challenges, and we will have to see which wins out. Is it going to be battery electric or fuel cell, or how are we going to move into the future? You will have to watch some of the other videos to see what the process and progress of these companies is.
So you really focus on some of the challenges that we see today with battery electric vehicles and also hydrogen powered vehicles.
As I walk around here and look at the various exhibits, it just strikes me that these OEMs who are developing these battery electric vehicles and fuel cell vehicles and hydrogen powered vehicles are facing enormous costs in the design, development and validation. Tesla has of course launched the Tesla Semi. It's going to be interesting to see how these other OEMs try to match it. It's going to be very interesting to see who wins out at the end of the day.
You touch on Tesla, and we're indeed here behind C Electric's booth with a battery electric vehicle in the background. It's probably relevant to also talk about internal combustion engines. Has diesel kicked the bucket?
Absolutely, that's a very good question which we'll answer later on.